Hello rounders, readers, circles. Hello, I'm the person reviewing your books for you today, and today we're going to be reviewing the Chaos Walking Trilogy by Patrick Ness. These books are The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and Monsters and Men. There's also a fourth book which is a prequel, but you can't really read that because it's only available on an app store in America, and not in America. So the main concept of these books is as the author said, it's information overload. There's a thing called the noise, which is every thought, everything that's in your mind gets projected out. So images that you think of and everything you think, everyone can hear it constantly everywhere, and that's the whole information overload thing. It is constant information, and that's one of the things the author wanted to base the books on. The other thing he said was the idea of a talking animal, talking how a talking animal should actually talk. And so that's your two core bits, and he wrote his books from this. It took me a while to get into the book because I couldn't understand what was being written in front of me, because the main character is actually the person to be writing the book, well, the first book anyway, and he was never really taught to read or write. So it's written as if words are spelt the way they're pronounced, and it's just a bit confusing to start off with until you find that out. The weirdest thing about me when I read this book is I haven't read a book in a very long time. Literally, Harry Potter Deathly Hallows was probably the last book I read, and I read that when it came out. That's how long ago it's been since I've read a book. I was really enjoying it. There were a few things I didn't like. I can't really say much because otherwise spoilers. The first story is all written from the main character's perspective, and then the second story it splits off into the two characters from the first book. And it's like one of them talking and then the other talking, and it switches in between. I both like that and don't like it. I don't like it because you're finding something out from one character and then all of a sudden you're like, nope, sorry, don't want to know anything more about that. You can go talk to the other character, and I want to know what happened to him, but I have to wait for her to talk and then I can find out what happened to him. But then sometimes what she talks about affects what happens to him, and that's why it's good at points, but it's also bad. Then the third book, there's three characters, and that's when it gets really confusing because you're finding out what happens to him, and her, and other things about the book is the fact that you never know who the bad guy is. You sort of have an idea of the person who the bad guy is throughout the first book, and you know that who it is, and you understand that's the bad person throughout the whole first book. Then the second book you get very confused. You don't know who's bad and who's good, and who's lying and who's not, and you sort of take sides with, because there's two main core groups in the book. There's the terrorists and the tyrants, and you kind of don't know whether to side with the terrorists or the tyrants, or you want to be one of the people in the middle. But I like the fact that it's making you choose a side in a book. And yeah, then the third book there comes to the other side, and everything all gets put together and combines, and it's beautiful. Another thing I like about the book is the whole aspect of the talking animals, and the way they talk, it makes you attached to the animals as much as you would be attached to any other character in the book. And even any character in the book you seem to have some sort of connection with, and whenever something happens to them you feel like bad or good or whatever, despite whether how important or how little they are in the whole book as a whole. So this is how the book's actually going. In the first book it's the whole running away from something, and they're basically trying to get somewhere before something else does. And then the second book is settling down in this new location and living with how the world is changing around them and seeing it as the world splits itself apart. And the final part, well, I can't really say much about it without spoiling the second book and the first book, so you're just going to have to read them for that. But each book drops off at a very good point where you're like, I need to read the second book, or I need to read the third book. And then the ending of the third book happens. The ending, let's talk about the ending. I'm not going to obviously say what the ending is, but I'm going to say that I didn't like it. I liked it up until just before the final chapter. There was a point where you said, it can end now, this is it, the book is over. I will close this book, or I will close the app for this book. And then it had another bit, and I understood it, and I liked it, but I didn't it made you want more then, and it made you disappointed the fact that no, now it's the end. It's like you could have ended then, and I would have been happy. Then you told me this, and now I want to know more, but there's not going to be more, and I'm not happy anymore. So if you stop reading before the final chapter, that's good. That's okay. You can read the book and be happy. Don't read that final chapter unless if you want to, because that disappointed me. It made it bad, and that's why I'm going to give the book 4 out of 5 circle thingies rather than 5. I won't even give it a half because I got lost in the whole switching between the characters to tell the stories, and that's another thing I didn't like, so that removes the whole circle for me. But I would recommend the book. I highly recommend it. It's a good read. I got stuck into it. It took me a while because it takes a while to get into it, sort of. You get into it at first, and then you lose interest about 10 pages through, and then you get back into it, and then you can't get out of it. The book is great, so read it. Don't read the ending, the very ending. Just read the book and enjoy it. Patrick Ness, well done. I applaud you. You wrote a bloody good book, and I might start reading again. But yeah, 4 out of 5. Goodbye.